Hello everybody, this is ASMR Paige, back at you for another DIY ASMR. For this particular DIY ASMR, I started out trying to make a roof tent or ceiling tent for my son's nursery. However, by the end of it, it just became a crib tent as it did not turn out exactly the way I had planned. If you're here just for the DIY, not for the ASMR, then everything you need will be at the beginning and end of the video with timestamps. If you're here for the ASMR, then enjoy the whole video. What you will need to start is your preferred fabric types and colors. For me, I used red organza, white organza, and blue aqua tulle. I already had a bolt of tulle, so I used that. And I bought 8 yards of red fabric and 8 yards of white fabric to create this tent effect. I also bought an embroidery hoop to tie everything onto, and you'll need a good pair of fabric scissors to get the cuts right. I started by taking a tape measure and measuring out my hallway to 60 inches, 75 inches, and 90 inches, which were roughly what I thought I would need to cover the whole room. If you're going to be doing just a tent over the crib like I ended up doing, you probably will not need it to be that long. However, because I started out doing a completely different project, that's what I decided to do. From there, you can see throughout the rest of the video that I measured out 5-inch strips. I cut those 5-inch strips and then tore them to make the longer strips and tied them onto the embroidery hoop in alternating colors, with the blue being my anchor of my front, back, and 4 corners. There was some debate over what would be the best thing to use for this, and something like organza was kind of what was finally decided on by the majority. On the original Pinterest post I saw this on, it said to use dollar store tablecloths, which I thought sounded absurd for something to permanently go in my son's nursery. Would have been easier, but just didn't think it sounded like something that should live in his room. It sounded like something you'd do for a birthday party. Oh, that's cheap and cute for a birthday party. Not yeah, that sounds like a good idea for my son's room for the next 3 to 4 years. Till he's old enough to have his own opinions about things and say, Mommy, I don't want a circus room. Why do I have a circus room? At which point we say, okay, what do you want? So, then what I'm going to do from here is, since I have the strips in my 3 colors, I have some aqua blue tulle, some red organza, and some white organza. And from here, what I'll need to do is to measure out 5-inch strips and make small cuts. And in order to do that, I would need my tape measure that I forgot. Hold on. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start doing is I'll need 5-inch strips. So I'll take my tape measure, take it to 5 inches, then start measuring. Now, if you know how wide your fabric is, you can do this a little faster, because I know that mine is 55 inches. I know that I'll be able to get 11 5-inch cuts. So I can double mine to make faster cuts. But if you don't know how wide your fabric is, then I would not suggest this, simply because you may end up with an uneven number that way. Okay, so we're going to take this first little bit and 5. Let's get my pretty scissors. 5 is right here. Going to make a nice enough cut so that when I rip in a minute, it will rip all the way through. Then you take from where you just cut to the next one, straighten it out, and a nice cut. The good thing about these strips is that they don't really have to be exact either, so like if I screw up and one of them's a little bit longer than the other one or something, it's not really the end of the world. I'm trying to make sure that I keep them lined up as best I can. Anyone with OCD, this is probably not the one to watch. Okay, so if I cut this one in half along the seam, then we'll start that tear. And with each one of these, you're just going to take till you end up with one long strip. And you take each cut and do it all the way down. Two. Also, it's a lot of fun to do. So. There's that. If you end up with extra strings everywhere, don't worry about it. It's really okay. You can trim them off later. Oops. That's one piece down. Leave 2 more red pieces, 3 more white pieces, and 6 blue pieces to go. Just like we did with the red, we'll line up the white. Try to fluff it out some. And if you are a super perfectionist, I mean, you can like really measure this well, but if you're like me and you think, this is going on my kid's ceiling, I bet almost is good enough, then feel free to do this the ASMR page way. Oh, I can hear a dog shaking. That's nice. Just like before. I'm going to try ripping 2 at once and see what happens. If it turns into a horrible failure, then we'll find out together. Oh, that's loud. Why is the white so much thicker than the red? I gave myself like rope burn. Creates about twice as many strings. While it may actually be twice as fast, it's very not enjoyable. Wouldn't recommend it personally. Okay. Oh my gosh, strings everywhere. With this kind of material, when you take it apart, it's going to string like that, but you're going to get some free. Good thing it's a vintage circus, carnival, carousel thing. We like the frayed look. Oh my god, I couldn't turn that down. It's so loud. Gosh. I almost got garment lining because I thought it would be cheaper than this. But I thought it would do this, like really bad, so I didn't. But it feels just like garment lining, so if you want the same look and you can get garment lining significantly cheaper, I'd go with the garment lining. By the time I used my coupons and everything, this was not, it was like $1 more or something, which I guess for 8 yards would have, it wasn't that much cheaper. all my years as a costumer have come down to making a ceiling for my son's nursery. Those moments in life where you realize all your life has come to. Goodness gracious alive, at these strings everywhere. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's try to clean up a little bit of the strings. Not even most of the strings. It's a tiny fraction of the string. We'll have to that's on one piece. That's a mess. There's a little bit of red string there. It's a fairly clean piece. Actually, it ends up looking almost like muslin. I've stripped it at this point. So that's good enough. And then I'm also going to do it for the tulle. But each piece of tulle is 200 inches long because it's a double. So that should be fine. There it is. Doing the exact same thing as before. If I can locate my scissors, they're underneath all of the freaking string. Okay. You know what? What I think I may do with the tulle. I don't want it to be see-through, so I may leave it bunched like that and just see how it looks. I'm gonna finish cutting these and then tear everything probably off camera because I'm tired of tearing on camera. unripped, I'm going to take the tool first. I'm going to take my ring and I'm going to tie, but not at the top. Second knot at the bottom. Gonna worry about that later. Okay, so basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do one at the top, one at the bottom, one at all four corners. And then I'm going to alternate red and white between those anchors. As I previously mentioned, I continued tying, making the aqua tulle my front and back, as well as my four corners. Then I alternated red and white on the embroidery hoop and tied them in knots. You'll see a picture here of what that looked like once I was done. And then I set it in the middle of my room and decided that it wasn't going to work for the tent effect that I had hoped for, and I decided to go for plan B. So my plan B was to take 4 of the red strips and tie them up above it to make a hanging tent instead of hanging by the hoop itself, and to hang it from above my son's crib. I used hooks in the ceiling to create this effect, and then I tied knots in the red organza so that it would stay snugly up there. I also had an extra large daisy that I used and put on top just to add some flair. And then you're going to take a quick look around my son's nursery as it is right now in its vintage carnival theme and all of the different DIY projects that I've done thus far to try and make it a beautiful, unique, one-of-a-kind nursery for him. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're not already, please subscribe. I make a lot of DIY ASMR videos as well as normal ASMR videos, and I hope you all have a pleasant night and sweet, sweet dreams.